Hey everyone, it's me Gavin Vengeance and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Teyvat chapter storyline preview, Travail. This is a video that I have seen countless times, so it's not going to be a reaction. However, I will give you some thoughts on what I think Dainsleif is describing in this video. Be warned, however, before we do get into it, it does contain a lot of spoilers for the story of Genshin Impact and what's going to be coming out for the game in the coming months. So, with that out of the way, let's get into the video. Alright, fair warning, I'm going to pause this quite a bit to talk about some lines.
We had no time to say goodbye.
That's got to be referencing when the twins get torn apart at the very beginning of the game by the unknown god, and they're sent into different time periods.
The war has already begun. It is just a continuation of past battles. The gods goad us on with the promise of their 7 treasures, rewards for the worthy, the doorway to divinity.
So, these lines right here, I believe, are referencing at least the big theory that I'm taking away from this video. And I think it's just that the world of Genshin Impact is somewhat stuck in a sort of like time loop, or something along the lines of when mankind reaches a certain level of like technological advancement or understanding or knowledge of some sort where they can ascend to the heavens, the gods intervene and then kind of like strip them of their powers, like what happens with the main characters, and send them back in time. I kind of feel like what we're getting is actually just a replay, like they say, of the past battles, right? It's just a continuation of the past battles. So again, I'm wondering if all the conflicts and everything are just kind of like reset to play it the way that they initially did, and our characters are kind of stuck in this continuum, this time loop of just having to re-achieve these powers with the hopes of eventually escaping the world, and then again being checked, strip the powers, rinse, repeat. Maybe not, but that's my takeaway from it. Let's get back into the video.
Yet buried in the depths of this world lies smoldering remains.
Case in point,
Conria. Their trespass. That throne in the sky is not reserved for you.
That's the line that makes me think it's about mortals achieving a higher understanding or a higher power than they're deemed worthy of. Right? It's the arrogation of mankind, as the unknown god says in the beginning.
The dragon who defended Mondstadt for a millennium finally faces his
Dvalin? This is going over chapter 1.
What does freedom really mean when demanded of you by a god?
I really like that line right there, because that's obviously referencing Venti, Barbados, the god of freedom, who, you know, tells the people of Mondstadt, you're free to do whatever you want, you know, you don't need to be bound by any kind of like rules or anything like that. But it's really nice how Dainsleif kind of words it, and he's like, you know, what really is freedom if your god's telling you, hey, I want you to be free? Is it truly freedom if they're telling you that you need to be free? Very, very twisted sense of like talking about it, but I love that stuff. So let's continue on to Liyue. We'll talk about Rex Lapis, Zhongli, Morax, and whatever names we all have for him. I don't know.
In the end, he will sign the contract to end all contracts. In the secluded land of the immortal
Act 2.
Shogun,
this is what's coming up next.
Eternal. But what do mortals see of the eternity chased after by their god?
You got Ayaka. So again, another line about the eternity and everything like that. I really hope this kind of like delves deeper into the immortality and everything that's kind of cursing the people that tend to oppose the gods. Case in point, Dainsleif, and also maybe we might get some hints of the immortality that's kind of hinted at of the twins, Aether and Lumine, in the We Will Be Reunited questline, because there were some things said in that questline that kind of remind me of them possibly being immortals themselves. Mainly the line that Lumine says, or well, depending on which character I guess you chose as your main character, but we have always had enough time. So, continuing.
The god of wisdom's enemy is wisdom itself, and the oasis of knowledge is a mirage in the desert of ignorance. In the city of scholars, there is a push for
Sino.
folly, yet the god of wisdom makes no argument against it.
All right, so this is really interesting, right? The thing about what they're saying right here is that it's a very, very intellectual like city, and everybody's got like a lot of knowledge about the world of Teyvat and everything that's going on there. But it seems like there's a push for folly, which means that they're pushing for foolishness. They don't want to have the wisdom that they do have, and I think the main reason again for this is that knowing can really be a gigantic detriment. You know too much, so again, it's really interesting. I think that this story is probably going to have a lot of like lore based stuff when we actually get into chapter 4. So again, extremely excited to see this, and maybe we'll find out a little bit more about the truths of the gods and Celestia and a few other places that may be even higher than Celestia.
The god of justice lives for the spectacle of the courtroom, seeking to judge all other gods. But even she knows not to make an enemy of the divine.
Linny and Lynette. But again, don't make an enemy of the divine, right?
The rules of war are woven in the womb. The victors shall burn bright, while the losers must turn to ash. When the god of war shares this secret with the traveler, it is because she has her reasons.
Right, so pretty much everything from the last chapter to this chapter just warning us, right? Do not trifle with the gods, because if you do, you're looking for trouble, right? That's essentially what they're talking about the war and everything like that. Everything's going to turn to ash. And again, don't mess with the divine. It's all pretty much warning, so I think that's really going to build to like the climax of the story, right?
God with no love
In Act
left
6,
for her
obviously we're going to be going to Snezhnaya.
Her followers hope only to be on her side when the day of her rebellion against the divine comes at last.
And the thing with the rebellion of Snezhnaya is that they really want to oppose the gods, right? They want to, I believe, gather like the gnosis of each of the gods, and they kind of want to use that power to overthrow essentially anything that's standing in their way. Again, I really think that this rebellion's going to end up playing into the main character's overall like ambitions, and maybe we might see a little change of heart when it comes to the main character once we hit this chapter. I'm thinking maybe you're gonna start, realizing, hey, maybe things aren't exactly how I think they are, and then maybe we'll also get some like more stuff with like the other twin being like, this is why I am, leading the Abyss Order, and why I also want to oppose the gods, because now we're gonna see exactly what this world is all about.
In the perpetual meantime of a sheltered eternity, most are content to live and not to dream.
This is a big line, okay? The perpetual meantime, and this is why, again, it ties right back into my whole like time loop theory. So the perpetual meantime essentially means a never-ending meantime, right? So again, they're talking about how most are content to live, everybody's just gonna go about their day-to-day life. Nobody wants to see a bigger picture or try to deviate from the norm. And again, they don't dream. They don't have the dreams that they want to reach for. Again, continuing on that line.
Where the god's gaze does not fall.
There are those who dream of dreaming. Fantastic. I'm getting chills, man.
Some say a few are chosen and the rest are dregs. But I say we humans have our humanity. We will defy this world with a power from beyond. Now, you who has set foot in this world, your journey has reached its end, but one final doorway remains.
I believe that doorway he's referencing is the doorway we see every time we log into the game.
Your journey. Defeat me, command me to step aside, show me that you are worthier than I to rescue her.
This line right here talking about defeat me. So I've got my theory that Dainsleif is going to be one of the endgame bosses and not so much an ally as he's been in the beginning of the game. Again, it's not just because of this line, but there's certain things that he says throughout the first couple of quests that you meet him, and it kind of really makes me think that they're setting him up to be sort of like this character reminiscent of like Trunks from Dragon Ball Z, if you guys could possibly reference him. So I'm thinking Dainsleif, and again, I know other people also have the same theory as me, but I think Dainsleif is actually some future iteration of Aether, and or you know, whichever twin you decide to pick. So I think that he's, again, something very closely related to the main character. He also has a line on like one of the first cutscenes that we see of him talking a bit like how his old traveling companion, their favorite flowers were dandelions and stuff like that, and he's obviously referencing the other twin, whichever one you decide to choose. He's referencing the opposite twin, the twin you're looking for throughout the story. So again, I feel like where he said that he's been a traveling companion of that other twin, he's probably a future iteration of yourself that's traveled back in time to try to make sure that things play out the way that he deems necessary in order to achieve his ultimate goal. But he wants you to defeat him if you think that you have what it takes to rescue her, and then also weave the threads of fate for your own liking. It's pretty complicated stuff, and I really, really hope that I'm not too far off the mark. I may be, but I got a feeling that's pretty on the nose.
Of all fate will be yours to reweave.
Right? Oh, man. And this last line.
My memory has all but faded completely, but I will always remember how much she too loved these flowers.
Right? I don't think he's referencing anybody else, but, well, Lumine, right? Because canonically, I believe that Aether's supposed to be the main character you pick. Anywho, he talks about the flowers that she's always loved, and he said that my memory's all but faded. You got to take into account that Dainsleif has been pretty much immortal since he was cursed 500 years in the past from the beginning of the story, and his memory, he says, is all but faded, which is odd because he usually remembers a lot of the events and everything that are going on in the story as you're like doing any kind of quest involving him. And it's strange, right? Because I mean, how does he not remember certain things? Like, his memory's all but faded, but he remembers literally everything. Even, you know, like, again, the flowers that she's always loved and everything. It's strange. Something's going on there. But again, there's a lot more lore than I'm familiar with. I did a few other like things of like research and everything referencing like again, a higher plane than Celestia. So Celestia apparently is where the humans go whenever they achieve divinity and they become a god themselves after they've achieved the blessings of the seven and all that good stuff. But apparently there's another plane higher than that. I can't remember exactly the name of it. It's a weird name. It starts with an O. Anyways, it's like Ogadode or something like that. I don't know. Anywho, I think that area that they're talking about that's a higher existence than Celestia, or higher plane than Celestia, is what we see every single time we log into the game. You got all of these bridges and pathways that are forming up from underneath your feet until eventually you log in, you lead to that door. And I'm thinking that door is probably the exit of the world of Genshin Impact. Again, that's all just my theories. I don't know. Again, I'm not really a theorist by any means, but that's my thought on the whole like Teyvat chapter storyline preview Travail video. Again, I really hope that maybe this struck a chord with some of you guys. Maybe you guys watched it all. I don't know. Anywho, I'd like to thank you guys very much for giving me a chance, and I really appreciate you guys checking out my channel. Please subscribe to the video, to the channel, and like the video. I'm getting my words all mixed up and everything. I just love this trailer so much. I honestly could watch it a billion more times, and I'd probably still be as lost as I usually am. But again, thank you guys very much for watching. I'll see you all for the next one. Take care. Peace.